Ian wants to come back in, and then there's another question at the back.
Yeah, just to comment on the comments from the back. I certainly didn't intend to suggest that the ornamental type trees like almonds and cherries have no value. They don't actually bring the ecosystem services like flood risk and climate mitigation stuff. They have huge value to local people, and the example I use is sort of Banner Cross and Bannerdale Road. If you drive down there, when the cherries are in flower, the almonds are in flower, it is absolutely stunning. And one of the issues there is obviously, you know, we've heard from people in the room how passionate they are about those trees, that they also have a huge impact on the desire to reside in a location and on the house prices and values for the homes in those locations. And that will not quickly recover when the trees are cut and replanted. It takes a long time. You know, you think next spring, go down through Bannerdale and just look at the view. It's fantastic. And you can't just put that back.
Okay, so I've got the gentleman there, and then somebody here, and a lady here. So number 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think what intrigues me really, listening to all the people here talking about their passion about the trees, it's the whole question around democracy really. Because I think Ian talked briefly about Rio and the whole issue around Agenda 21, where act locally, think globally. It really makes me ponder or to wonder how in communities where, like black and minority communities, where people's voices are not heard because there are no environmental activists there. I don't know what's going on there, especially if you look at the northern part of Sheffield where there's no tree coverage there. And the fact that trees have got a whole lot of benefits, the ecological benefits, the health benefits, and all those things. And if they are not here for their voices to be heard, I don't know who represents them here, really. And also, I don't know the council's policy on Agenda 21, because I remember when Agenda 21 came out, it was, the slogan was act locally, think globally, where local communities were empowered, really, to take control of their own local environments and to tell the council what was good for them. But here's the case, we are witnessing something where, you know, even activists, this gentleman here was just talking about, you know, are not being consulted. So what happens to those who just even are not even aware of what's going on, really?
Okay, good point. Here.
The air quality manager for Sheffield Council has said publicly that he doesn't think that trees remove nitrogen dioxide from the atmosphere. He's totally wrong. It just kind of shows some of the stuff we're up against. There are, however, opportunities in the AIMI contract, which is that when they take out trees which can't be replaced in the spot that they have to find somewhere else to replace them. So we do now have the opportunity, if we can have a proper dialogue with AIMI, to have some trees planted in the sites that we think are important. Except that actually we don't want cherry trees that have flower for 2 weeks of the year. Go down Glen Orkney Road and see some proper planting if you want to see some variation and so on. And lastly, I think that we need to get a consortium of community groups. I think most community groups would put a representative into a consortium to form a group to talk to AIMI and the council and deal with some of the issues properly.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nikki Rivers from Sheffield Wildlife Trust. Just picking up a couple of points because our names have been mentioned a few times. We've been talking with AIMI since before they even got the contract because we saw this coming really, and a lot of our members across the city were in touch about various issues, trees and all sorts of things. So we hosted an evening with AIMI at our Wildlife Trust a few months ago where Darren from AIMI is here tonight, answered a room full of questions, much like tonight. And it'd be good to let him speak in a minute, actually, to answer some of your questions in detail. And we've followed that up with asked the council to put in their contract that AIMI do a biodiversity action plan for their work, which they have done, and we're working with them to actually improve their first version of that. And acting basically as a critical friend, and continuing that dialogue and looking at opportunities to, roadside verges and ecological networks and all sorts of things, not just looking at trees. And we're going to continue that biodiversity stakeholder groups. If there's any local groups We did extend invites out to the Evening with Amy to local groups such as yourselves, but obviously it doesn't always reach everybody. So if people want to be involved in that stakeholder group, please talk to me afterwards, and I've got information leaflets at the back. And we're also on our website. If people are we're offering a service. If people are struggling to get listened to directly to Amy, they have got a contact number, which I'm sure Darren will tell you in a minute. We can pass on concerns to Amy, because that's happened a few times. We've been quite quick at responding, so that's something that we'd like to continue offering to people.
Okay, do you want to just say again your name and how people can contact you?
So my name's Nikki Rivers, Sheffield Wildlife Trust. The details of the Amy staff we're putting on our website, which is www.wildsheffield.com, and I've got some leaflets about with our phone number and everything on.
So that does seem like a good lead-in to hear from Amy or the council officer sitting next to him, Steve, I think. So Darren or Steve, I would be really interested in how you see this. Like, it feels like a very strong theme is about sort of consultation, genuine consultation, and some kind of local democracy. And as a local councillor, I've really struggled with this, like getting very short notice of when things are happening, and feeling that I can't influence the process at all. Like, the answer is just, this is happening. And, you know, even if I have some confidence in what's happening, I can't influence it. And that feels really hard. Very, very different from when I was a councillor 5 years ago, and it was Street Force, and on Chipping House Road, there was a huge consultation about taking down a couple of trees. In months of toing and froing. So I would be really, really interested in what your process is. Just set it out for people, how you consult with local people.
Shall I come to the front just for 5 minutes? I hate the sound of my own voice, so I won't be very long. I'm well trained at this. So my name is Darren Butt. I'm the account manager for Amy, so I'm responsible for maintenance operations within the Streets Ahead project. That covers obviously trees, grounds maintenance, street cleaning and highways. My background personally is as an arboriculturist, starting my career as a YTS operative in Westerville, Arboretum, and I've trained as a forester. One thing obviously Ian kept talking about for his talk was the urban forest, and I'm extremely passionate about the urban forest, and I apologise about some of the consultation or lack of consultation that may have happened on some of these roads, but we do endeavour to meet everyone, and the urban forest has to be managed. You know, the big issue is the urban forest hasn't been managed for many, many years, and whilst we appreciate and we get the beauty of the mature trees that we have on our street lines and streets at the moment, you know, if we leave them and neglect them, our future generations won't have them. So we do have to regenerate the tree population as well, and that's the critical part, and that's what the PFI offers. It offers a fantastic opportunity to reinvest in the streets, reinvest in the trees, and it is extremely expensive to replace trees. When you take them out of a hard surface and you put them back on a hard surface, you have to create that pocket for the tree to go, and you have to put the infrastructure in place, and that's extremely expensive. So really, to me, if it's all about cost, I'd leave all the trees up. I really don't want to cut them down because they cost me a fortune, it costs me a fortune to replace, and therefore maintain for the next 25 years. So if I can retain everything, I will do. I have a passionate team who want to retain all trees. You know, tonight I'm hearing about the people who want a safeguard and guardianship of the trees.
You're not actually talking about consultation.
Yeah,
Consultation, I'm talking about, sorry.
What's the process?
But you know, the other consultation is I'm quite often having to be the guardian of the tree because I'm meeting a lot of people who want the trees out rather than keeping them. So we do, the trees that are identified for removal are provided to the authority. They have to approve. Everything that I want to do has to be approved by the authority. I cannot do it without approval. Once approval has been reached by with the authority, I then notice all trees. I don't think we're doing them all at 8 foot high, I hope they're not, but we do have a problem that some residents like to take notices off and pin them on other trees, so we do have a bit of an issue there. We need to get people now to re-spray painting trees and everything else, but that's another issue altogether. But we then obviously provide 2 weeks notice, and to be fair, most of those trees are on for a minimum of 2 weeks. They do extend beyond that because we do get local residents and concerned residents, and sometimes 2 weeks isn't sufficient time to get out and meet people, so we do extend that notice period. We do letter drops locally around all those individual trees, and where we're going to have a significant impact on the landscape, we will widen that consultation. We have a roadside bus that goes out and communicates with our assembly throughout the assemblies and gets people involved. There's been various supermarkets and other venues around the town. And we have regularly tree walks as well locally. And I've done numerous tree walks on evenings with people, local councils, residents and other groups.
So can I just stop you a minute? So in the if we can just, excuse me, take an example. If we take the example of Edmund Road,
Yep.
so the notices go up on the trees.
Yeah.
At what stage did you, or would you, I mean, I can't, you may not know about that specifically, at what stage would you meet local people? Because you said 2 or 3 times in that, you meet people to talk about
When
it.
we get...
So where did that fit into that process?
Well, I can give you the telephone, not the customer first number, but when people...
That's the 2734567.
That's correct. It's the only number I can give.
I know it is,
So I
yeah.
have to give you that.
But no, if you just come to when, but
So
you know,
on
in
Edmund Street,
theory,
so,
when
yeah,
would you meet the
trees
people on
ne-
Edmund Street to hear what they think about the
Julian,
trees
can
in
I just
theirs?
chip in and help him with this? Because we've just done this in Greystones. So what we did is 3 months before we spoke to all of the ward councillors and told them what we were going to do in their area, what we were doing with the trees. We took their advice about how we should work in their area, how we should talk to people. I think it was 4 weeks before we started setting up notices to say we will be on this street doing a tree walk. We publicised it via community groups, via ward councillors. We invited the community groups, we invited the ward councillors, we invited the residents. This was 4 weeks before the notices
So
went
why
up.
didn't it happen in Central Ward then?
Yes, or any other
I don't know, I just know that...
Or
I know
when-
that-
in
I know
fact-
that
Because we don't have Labour MPs.
No.
I know that in Greystones that's what
Greystones
we've
they
done,
don't.
and we've also done it in other areas, like we've done it in other areas that we've taken trees down as well.
Can we also just remind you, obviously, we are 1 year into a contract. We've got to learn. You know, we will
Yeah.
make mistakes. And on Edmund Road, I'm not saying we made any mistakes there. I believe we did consult. I think the notices were up. When you say when the point of consultation, when people feed back to us that there's issues, we will come out and meet people. I've met people, numerous people myself personally.
What we're asking for is a transparent consultation process. And that's what I feel people want to hear about, is how are you going to convince all of us here and the rest of the city that you are going to provide us with a transparent process so that that family back there and no other family in the city ever experiences that again. And I'm not hearing that.
Can I answer?
Yeah.
Can I
Do you want to sit
Yeah.
down?
Yeah.
I'm Sheffield.
Sorry to...
I work for Sheffield City Council. I'm the head of Highway, so I'm responsible for the city road network, and Darren does work on our behalf. On that particular instance, and I appreciate how passionate you are, and I can understand that. Just asking just a question. You saw the notice. Did you ring the number and share that passion? What did somebody say?
Well, what we did, we rang. We got real no answer from that. We then I mean, ironically, I was away at a fundraising event to raise money for people that are trying to defend trees in South America. So it supported quite close home, cutting down trees in Rome. So Sarah was here on her own. She then phoned up, I think, Gillian or Rob, as the local councillors, because she wasn't getting any response at all. They then made contact and managed to get some number or some contact from Amy. We were saying, well, look, you say it's got to take some of these trees out. What about this small cherry tree? It's not that big. Why can't that tree stay? There was some talk that someone from Amy would come and meet her. They didn't phone. They didn't get back to her, so she had no phone call on it. And then the trees are going to come down. It's like it's the fact that, you know, if what happens, what you said in Greystones had happened on our street, then that would be very, very different. But that's not what happened, and it does leave you a little bit feeling like, because we're in the inner city, it's a student area, you know, maybe our vote, you know, maybe not as many people vote. I don't know why there is that difference. That's for you to explain why there was a difference between what we experienced and what they experienced in Greystones. But if you had a process like that, then that would mean that it would be quite different than what we experienced.
Well, we have to go away and look at that, and I can categorically say that, you know, I'm an officer. The political dimension's got no effect on me. We employ Amy as our contractor to do our work, so, you know, political dimension's got nothing to do with them. I think there's been an impression given that Amy is incentivised to remove trees, and I hope Darren's alleviated that impression that it's more expensive to take a tree out than it is to maintain a tree. And we've identified 1,250 dead, dying, dangerous, diseased and damaging trees across the city so far. That's 1,250 out of 36,000, out of 2 million city trees. And we have a responsibility to make sure that anything that's dead or dying that may well damage one of you or one of your family, I imagine you'd be quite passionate if a branch fell on one of your children, and I'm responsible for that, so I have to take that responsibility quite seriously.
Thanks, Steve. That's great that you stood up and made yourself known. I think the issue, though, is about sharing that information in good time so that people can feed back their opinion about the trees on their street. Obviously there's going to be different opinions, like, everybody has said it, if you get 4 people around a tree, there's going to be at least 4 different opinions of whether it's good, bad, and what needs doing to it, but it's about having that discussion in good time.
And before notification.
And that is not the same as notification, so it's a kind of well-timed thing. So I don't know how we're going to progress this to get to the point of, it's maybe through Nikki's group, through Wildlife Trust, but just to be able to scrutinise the consultation process. That's the bit that really interests me, rather than, obviously behind that is what decisions are made. So I'm just going to have 2 more questions from the floor of people who haven't spoken, and then we'll wrap it up. It's going to be, so there's a gentleman there who hasn't spoken, and a gentleman right at the back, and I think that's going to be the last 2 comments. Thanks.
We just heard the word consultation mentioned, and yet I haven't heard anything about the consultation process whatsoever. I've heard a process whereby people are informed, but not consulted. It's nothing that's completely different. Can we hear if there is ever has been a case where this process has resulted in one of these decisions that have been made actually being reversed?
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm afraid we're not going to have the time to answer this. It will have to be through some sort of post-meeting discussion. So I'm going to stop it. So just the gentleman at the back.
I agree with the consultation thing. It just sounds absolutely ridiculous. But just final thing I'd like to say is aren't we missing the elephant in the room, that as far as urban trees are concerned, the number 1 priority should be health and safety for the people living on those streets. So talking about environmental factors, to me, for urban trees is secondary to that. So it's all about really, I suppose, getting the right tree in the right place and making sure it's properly maintained over its life.
Thank you very much. So I am going to call it to a close. I think maybe people want to talk to each other as they go out, but we need to clear this room for other purposes by 9 o'clock. So thank you very much for your fantastic way to set up this.